Alright, let's get started with our first part. This first part is going to be the clip that hangs on the slider and will slide in the direction that you choose when you set an angle. First thing we want to do is make sure that our units are in mmgs. That's the way we design them. So let's get started by sketching on the front plane. So first of all, we're going to just draw the general shape. Don't worry about dimensioning yet. We're going to start by making a vertical line, then a horizontal line, then another vertical line, then make another horizontal line. We're going to go down and make sure that these two are aligned right here so that it makes a perfect horizontal, connecting them. We're going to make another horizontal line and go down and make sure that these two connect. And then do the same, make a horizontal, vertical, make sure these two connect, and then connect it back to the shape. We already have a closed shape. Next thing we're going to do is make the symmetries of the shape so dimensioning becomes a little easier. So we're going to take these two and we're going to make them equal. We're going to do the same for these two right here. We're going to set them to be equal. Same for these two, make them equal. These two need to be equal, and these two need to be equal. Perfect. Okay, so now we have all the symmetries. Let's actually dimension out the shape sizes. The top one right here is going to be defined as 16 millimeters. There we go. This one right here, there's distances between the two walls. We're going to define that to be 4.7. The gap that is in between these and the tracks is 5 millimeters, so a 0.3 tolerance is ideal for having sliding features like this. Next thing we're going to do is do the bottom of the base right here. We define this to be 2.5. There we go. Next, we're going to do this shape right here. We're going to define it to be 2.8. There we go. That's looking good. Right here, we're going to do this bottom shape to be 10.60. Beautiful. And then the only thing that needs dimensioning now is this. And that's going to be 6. There we go. That's a beautiful little sketch right here. It's fully defined. So let's get started with making this a 3D object. We're going to use the extruded boss base feature right here. We're going to extrude this out by 30. Just like that. That's all you have to do. Next, we're going to select this top face here. We're going to press sketch and start sketching along this. This is going to be where we put the pins in here so that the syringe clip can attach on top, similar to how Legos attach. We're going to start by making 2 center lines along this shape so that we have a reference to trace down these circles. Just like that, and then we're going to do another one for the horizontal. Awesome. Next thing we're going to do is create this top circle. This is not actually a perfect circle, but instead we're going to use a little bit of a height increase on this. You'll see why in a minute. So let's take a center rectangle and just draw it somewhere along here, just like that. Perfect. We're going to delete this top face and these bottom faces because instead of having a rectangle here, we're going to connect them with a center point arc. Right here, SolidWorks allows you to connect it so the radius or the center point aligns with the y value of this point. We're going to do that and just wrap it around just like that. Make sure that these 2 points are actually connected. Next, we're going to do the same for this bottom face right here and just wrap around just like that. Next, we're going to have to add a few extra relations to make sure that this doesn't change shape when we dimension it around. So we're going to take these 2 edges right here, and we're going to make them tangent. Same with these 2 right here. Make these tangent. Make sure you only select 2 faces at a time. Just like that, we got that done. Next thing we're going to do is take this middle face. This part right here is not too big. It should be only 0.5 millimeters to only increase it a little bit. This is only to prevent rotation when the pins stick in. And we don't need to make this overly constrained or else maybe there'll be some issues with actually applying this. Next thing we're going to do is make this 5 in the radius or a diameter of 10. And that's actually all you need to do for this shape to be fully defined dimension-wise. Next thing we're going to do is make a circle down here, and we're going to make this just a radius of 5. In this case, we put diameter of 10. You can put a radius of 5 too if you choose to. That will not mess anything up. Next thing we're going to do is make this center 7.5 from the middle, And to keep this consistent with the top one, what I did was I dimensioned the distance from here to be 15. Just like that, they are perfectly same origin distance away from the center. We can exit out of here, and we're going to just cut this down to make the pins within the shape. We can use the extrude cut feature right here to do so. We're going to only go down by 4 millimeters. And just like that, we're good. Now, one important thing is to make sure that your material is set correctly. Right here, we have the material PETG right here. SolidWorks naturally does not come with it. I use the custom material to apply this specifically. If you want to copy down these values to get this material, that's how you do it. Alright, let's create the arc now. So open the part, let's switch our units to MMGS, and let's start sketching on the front plane. What we're going to start doing is reference geometry. So create a vertical line. We're going to set it to infinite length and construction. When you do so, it's going to detach it from the origin, so make sure to reset the coincident relation. Once you do that, hit check. Okay, cool. Now let's actually make the sketches that we're going to revolve around this line. So we're going to make a new sketch and start sketching on geometry. I'm going to use a construction line first, going horizontally off the origin, just like so. And then we're going to create another line going into here. This is going to be the base of our sketch. Anywhere you click doesn't matter. Let's do a vertical line, a horizontal line, angle back up, and then do a vertical, horizontal, and then vertical down to close the sketch, just like that. Next, let's set line relations. We're going to make these two. Once you select the right one. Okay, we're going to make these collinear, and then we're going to take the top and the bottom faces here, and we're going to make another relation. We're going to make these equal because they're going to be the same length and also parallel, just like that. Next, let's dimension out the bottom. This is going to be 2.75. There we go. And then we're going to do the bottom to be 5. Next, the side face is going to be 7.5. Okay, great. We messed up a little bit of our geometry, but that's okay. Let's start with this angle right here. That is going to be 4.5, not 4.6. Whoops. Let's try to move this line down a little bit. SolidWorks is being stupid. All right. That line is 4.5, not 4.6. Next, let's take this point and just wrap it down a little so that way it looks right. There we go. Next, let's set the dimension of that. That should be 0.995. There we go. Okay, great. Now we just need to set the distance from the origin. We're going to set this to 90. And there we go. Everything is black and well dimensioned. So we can exit this sketch. Now let's make the other side of these railing systems. So we're going to exit the sketch. And then we're going to make a new sketch with on top of the front plane, just like that. Great. We're going to do basically the same process, but flipping it or reflecting it. So we just created that line. Let's set this to 75, so we have the correct distance in between. And so let's start building the rest of the sketch now. So again, we're going to create first a horizontal line along that line. Doesn't really matter. Then we're going to do a vertical line, horizontal line again, angular line up, and then do a vertical line, and then a horizontal line, and then connect it back down. It's okay if they're not perfectly vertical. We'll just give the vertical there, and now we fix that. And then we're just going to make these collinear, just like before, and the top and the bottom are going to be equal. There we go. Okay, let's now dimension everything out. This is, again, 7.5. And then this one is 0.95. And then select that bottom face right there and the top face, that's going to be 4.5. And then we're also going to find the X distance there, that's going to be 2.75 for the correct tolerance when that thing slides. That's going to be 5, and we are good there. Now we can revolve these around sketch number 1. So take one of those two sketches and select the feature revolved. Boss space. Next, what we're going to do is see how it's flipping around its own axis. What we're going to do is we're going to switch that to the main thing right there. Now it's wrapping around fully. We're going to make this 97 degrees, not 360. Select check, and we're going to do the same exact thing for the other one. So select that main sketch and set that to 97 degrees. And there we go. These two are now perfectly set together, and we have this kind of arc shape, just like that. Next, what we're going to do is select one of those two faces. It doesn't really matter which one. And what we're going to do is we're going to get a rectangle, and make sure to select exactly one of those corners. It has to select the corner, and then select the other corner. You know it's correct when the thing is black. If it's blue, then the coincident relationship didn't fully work. We're going to extrude this one out by 15 millimeters. 15, there we go. And we're going to select check. There we go. Now these two are merged together. Next, let's create the pins on this face right here. So we're just going to go sketching on the face. And we're just going to drop two circles on the face. So let's zoom in there. Grab the circle, and we're just going to draw a circle once, and then we can draw one directly below it. We're going to make sure that these have the vertical relation. So just select vertical on those two center points, and now we can move them around and they stay fixed vertically. So now let's dimension out the diameters. This one should be 2.2. Whoops. 2.2. Whoops, I meant to say 2. Okay. Next, what we're going to do is make the distances from the top line and the side line. So just select the center and the top. We're going to set this one to be 1.5, and then same for the bottom one. Just make sure that they have their own distance from the side, but we only need to do one side dimension because they are locked vertically together, and we're going to make this distance, oh, that was weird. Okay. From the center to the side, we're going to make this distance 2. There we go. Now what we do is we just are going to extrude these out by 5 millimeters. There we go. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to create a plane to mirror these along. So first, what we're going to do is draw on the front plane, and we're just going to draw a vertical line to reference for our plane to correctly be set up. So just create a vertical line. We're going to make this infinite length and construction just like before. Next, we're going to dimension out the distance between that and our reference sketch. This is going to be 82.5. There we go. Next, we can exit the sketch and go to features and then make a reference plane. We're going to select that line right there to be coincident, and we're going to make it perpendicular to that other face. As we can see, that is perfectly set up. So now we can do the mirroring to make sure the pins are on the other side. So select those pins on the feature tree, and then we're going to just reflect it along there. And there we go. We got those pins right there, which is great. Next, what we're going to do is connect these two front bits. So select one of the faces and then create a rectangle at one of the corners, and then make sure to select the other corner. Again, it should be a black rectangle, so you know that it is fully dimensioned. You see right there, it's not. So what we're going to do, we can move it around left and right. We can just select that in the corner right there and make sure that it says coincident. There we go. That's looking good. Next, we're going to do the same revolved base feature. We're going to select that reference sketch just like before, and then we're going to set this to 2 degrees, just like that, and then we can press check. There we go. Our geometry is like now fusing together. Now the last thing to do is to just add the main pin support thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to create reference geometry on the top plane, and we're just going to make a vertical line through the origin. And then again, we're going to do the same thing for construction infinite length, and then we're going to make sure to reset the coincident relationship with the origin. That's really important. Great. Now what we can do is create a reference plane to build off of this arc. So go to reference plane, select that main line, and we're going to make this perpendicular this time. And then what we're going to do is use the second reference. We're going to use that side face, and we're going to make that tangent right there. That's fully defined, so we can go now and sketch on this plane. The way we're going to do it is kind of strange. So we're going to create first a construction line up from the origin, just like so. And then we are going to dimension this out to be half the height, which is 3.75. Not 375, but 3.75.
There we go, that should cut right in the middle. Next we're just going to put a circle centering on that edge right there, and we're going to make this a radius of 3. There we go. Next, all we need to do is extrude this circle out. You can use the blind feature, and we're going to extrude this out by 80 millimeters. Great. If you look down vertically from the top plane, these two lines, or these supports, should face exactly in the same thing. This is important for the base plate because we're doing extrude cuts at that same height. Next, all we have to do is the fillet feature, so select fillet, and we're going to set our center of radius to 2 millimeters, and you know that that is set correctly when you're selecting the face. That side right there is also getting fillet. Next, we're going to select all 4 of those exterior edges right there, there, and there. That's looking good. We're going to press check, and now our geometry is getting smoother. Next, what we're going to do is do another fillet, but on the circular edge that creates that big support. You just select that, and we're going to set our radius to 15 millimeters. This is to better support the weight if someone was to press down on it, so it's not all just on a big beam and it kind of tapers into it, I guess. Next, what we're going to do is do a fillet on that side face that is exposed, and we're just going to do another 2 millimeter radius right there. 2 millimeters, there we go. Press check, and then now we're just going to do the interior track. So we have like a little bit more geometry holding this up. So we're going to do 2.5. That's the highest we can do for these edges. So just select that internal face or edge. You should see that pop out there if you're doing it correctly. 2.5 millimeters. And then right there again, it's very easy to select the face on accident. So make sure you see those yellow indicators right there, and you have the right radius. Otherwise, you won't see it. We do that side face too, and then we're going to do the other corresponding face. And just make sure you select that edge, and then you press check. And now our geometry is all complete for this. All we have to do now is set the material. So go into your material, edit material, and then we're going to go and select PETG. There we go. This is a custom plastic again, so you need to copy these values down if you want this to work in SolidWorks. Once that's done, we have our full arc.
Alright, so let's continue with the rotating track. Create a new part, switch your units to MMGS, and we're going to start by sketching on the front plane. For the front plane, we're going to create 2 vertical lines, just like so. This top vertical line is going to be infinite length and for construction. This bottom line is just going to be for construction, and then we're going to make another construction line, just like so. Make this horizontal. Great. Now let's smart dimension out our details. The top line for this is going to be 12. And then this line right here is going to be 82.5. Great. We can now exit the sketch. This is going to be for reference. So let's now go to the front plane again and sketch on there. Oh shit. I already messed up. So let's sketch on the front plane. We're going to first do some... Okay. Sketching on the front plane. Let's make a horizontal line to the left of the origin. We're going to make a vertical line from there, and then another vertical line. This top vertical line is going to be for construction and infinite length. These other lines are also just going to be construction lines, just like so. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is dimension this to be 82.5, and then this line over here is going to be 12 tall. Once that is done, we can exit the sketch and go back to the front plane and sketch another one. So for this, what we're going to do is just do the right side of the sketch identity. So we're going to make a line that's horizontal, and then we're going to do a diagonal. We're going to do a vertical, horizontal, vertical, horizontal. Just like so. We're going to put a center line through this, just like so. Okay. Next we're going to do is a
dimension on top. We're going to make this 10. We're going to make this one 1.5. We are going to make this one 7.75. This one is going to be a dimension of 1. This one going down. There we go. This is going to be 3.5. And then this one right here will be 4.75. And then this line right here is going to be dimensioned out to be just 1. There we go. Next we can get out a smart dimension. And we're going to mirror these entities besides this one, and that's going to be our center right here for mirroring. And just like that, we have that part. Let's get out of sketching mode. And what we're going to do is go to the revolve feature, and we're going to use this as our reference, and we're going to revolve this a total of 15 degrees, just like that. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to create a reference plane from there, and we're going to make this coincident with the face. Next thing what we're going to do is we're going to sketch on here, and we're going to make a center point arc. So select that point right here, select this side, and we're just going to go around here. We're going to make this a 4 construction line. Select check. Next, what we're going to do is we're also going to create a center line that goes through the midpoint of here and the midpoint of here. This needs to be coincident here, and now this is all fully defined. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to just create a circle that goes through the middle of here. We're going to dimension that to have a diameter of 4 millimeters. We're good there, that is fully defined. Next, what we're going to do is go to features, we're going to extrude cut, and we're going to make this a through all cut. So there we go, that looks good. Next, what we're going to do is go back to this face, and we are going to sketch on this face. So what we want to do is to first create a reference line that goes through here, and we are going to make this an infinite length line, and we're going to only define it by having this angular relation right here. This should be 15/2, so it perfectly intersects the center of it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that this is also coincident. And there we go. That perfectly goes through. Next, what we're going to do is to create another set of lines. We're just going to create a rectangle of sorts. And for relations first, let's make sure that 3 of these lines are all perpendicular. So there we go. That looks good. Next, we're going to make this parallel. Beautiful. So now we can adjust these. So as for the dimensions, let's start with this face, or this edge right here. This is going to be a length of 10. And then we're going to create a length along here, like that, make that 9. Okay, that is looking good. And then we're going to set this to have a length of 3. Great. That's looking good. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to mirror all of this up along this line, which should look like that. And then we're going to give these right here a defined dimension of 11. Okay, that is looking good. We're going to get out of this sketch, and we're going to go to extruded boss and base,
and we're going to extrude up by 8.15. There we go. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to set up the main plane that we're going to mirror along. So for this, we're going to create a reference sketch. So I would select the plane right along here because it's already at the same height, and we're just going to create a line along it. So start from here, and then we're going to do that. This is going to be a construction line of infinite length, and we're going to dimension it right here to be, again, 15/2. And then we're going to make sure that these two are coincident. Okay, amazing. So next, let's create reference geometry. We're going to create a reference plane, and what we're going to do first is to select this. This is to be coincident with it. And then we're going to make this also parallel with this face right here. That should be a perfect division in between, which is great. Next thing we're going to do is to select one of these faces, and we're going to sketch along it, just like so. We're going to create two relations, so make sure that it is coincident with that corner, and it's going to be coincident with this edge. Next we're going to do is smart dimension this length, and it's going to go down by 2.5. Next, what we're going to do is exit the sketch, and we're going to extrude this in by 3. There we go. Next, we're going to select this face and sketch in here. And again, we're going to just define it based on the geometry we already have. So these two are there. If you did it correctly, it should be all black. Now we can exit the sketch. Now make sure that this is on the face that is smaller and not the face that is longer. We're going to extrude this in by 80.88, just like so. Next we're going to take this entire feature, and we're going to, and this feature, we're going to mirror it. So select mirror, and we're just going to mirror it along this plane. So there we go, we have these. Next thing we're going to do is select one of these faces here, and we're going to sketch along here, just like so. Select that edge, or that corner, and then select this corner. If it's correct, it should be all black. Exit the sketch, and we're going to extrude this, again, out by 3 millimeters. So now these faces are joined together, which is great. Next, what we're going to do is to go through the back, and we're going to select one of these faces, and we're just going to sketch 2 rectangles. So, just like that, one right there, and then we're going to do another, and select this corner and that corner. So now we have 2 close sketches that we can extrude from. And we're just going to extrude this out by 70. Now lastly, we're going to just add a fillet on this face, and we're just going to do a radius of 1 millimeter, and that should be the entire geometry of the part. Everything is fully defined. So last thing we're going to do is just edit the material, and we're going to do PETG. And that is the entirety of the part right there. Alright, let's now make the base plate. Start on the top plane, and we're going to create a sketch. What we're going to do is to first go up, make a vertical line. We're going to make a horizontal line, a vertical down, horizontal down. We're going to do a horizontal there, and then we're going to go out, and then we're going to have this reconnect down here. That's the basic shape. So now let's dimension out. First dimension we're going to do right here is,
Remember to have your units in mmgs, otherwise it's going to be off. Let's go back into the sketch and dimension out. This is going to be 15. This one is also going to be 15. This length right here is going to be 60. This length here is going to be 55. And then this length over here is going to be 100. And then this length here is going to be 9. And just like that, we have a fully defined sketch. So let's leave the sketch here, and we're going to extrude this feature up. And we're going to select 11 millimeters for the extrusion, just like that. Next, let's sketch on the top plate, and we're going to create some pins that are going to attach inwards. So let's first start with this right pin. We're going to create a center line going down like that, and we're going to make this distance from here to here 90 millimeters. And then we're going to place a circle on top of here, right in the center of it. This is going to have a radius of this is going to have a diameter of 3.15. This is going to allow the pin to sit in here with a snug fit. Next thing we're going to do is create another center line along here and here. And we're going to define this to have a length of 7.5. Just like that. And then we're going to make this length here to here be coincident so that it sits along there. Next, let's create the circles that are going to sit along here. So just trace out 2 circles, ideally on top of each other, and then we're going to set these to be vertical. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this and make it a diameter of 2.2. Again, we need a little bit of a tolerance here so that the pins will fit in correctly. So there we go, we have that. Next, what we're going to do is set this distance over here to be 2. And then we're going to set the distance between them to be 4.5. And then we're going to set the distance from here to here to be 2.25. That is all perfectly measured out. So next, let's mirror our entities. We're going to mirror this along this line right here that we just created. Beautiful. And next, we're going to exit the sketch, and we're going to extrude cut down by 5 millimeters. As you can see, there is now holes in here, and there's a hole in there. Next, we're going to, again, sketch onto here, and we're going to create a rectangle. First thing we're going to do is set the distance from here to here to be 7. This over here is going to have a length of 29.1. This is just enough tolerance to fit our level bar, and it's 29 millimeters, so we added an extra 0.1 for it to be a snug fit. We're going to define this length right here to be 10. And next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a center line here, and we're going to make it a horizontal line, so that way it perfectly connects back to here. Next thing we're going to do is to select the midpoint here and make these coincident. That fully defines the geometry, so we can exit out of here, and we're going to cut down by 9 millimeters. And there we go. That is the base plate as it is. We're just going to set this material to be PETG. And there you go. That is the base plate. Now for the syringe clip. This is the part that sits on the slider and actually will hold the clip. This is designed to work for different sized ones, so you have to design different sized clips. So let's get started. The first thing we need to do is, again, switch our units to MMGS. Let's sketch on the top plane. We're going to create a rectangle that sits on the origin with the right corner sitting on the origin. We're going to dimension this right side first, or the left side, to be 32. Then we're going to dimension this one up here to be 16. Once we are done with that, we can exit the sketch and extrude it up by 6 millimeters. Great. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a center line along here. So just find here and that center. That is perfect. We can exit the sketch now. What we're going to do is to create a reference plane. So what we're going to do is select that to be coincident, and then this one should be perpendicular. Once we do that, we can exit there. That is our plane where we're going to sketch on this plane now. So let's start there. What we're going to do is we're going to create kind of like an arc shape, and then we're going to mirror it along the shape that we see. So let's start with first our first line, which is a center line. We're going to select this to be the main point. As you can see, that does not move. That is great. Let's set this dimension over here to be 9 millimeters. There we go. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to create a center point arc. We're going to go from the top down to here, make sure these two touch, and we're going to put it around here. Now let's check to make sure this doesn't move around. That looks good. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to smart dimension this point and select this point and make sure that it's asking for vertical distance. We're going to set that to 5. There we go. So now the circle is extended out, just like so. Next thing we're going to do is make another circle. So we're going to go select that same middle point, and we're going to go straight down and just wrap around. Again, what we're going to do this time is to create a point here and here. We're going to make this a vertical line. We're going to exit that. Whoops, don't exit the sketch. Next thing we're going to do is just to select all of this and mirror it. There we go. That is looking good. Let's check. Okay, this is now sliding along here, which is not ideal. So first make these 2 points here concentric. Good. So now it floats along here. Let's select the midpoint here and the midpoint here and make these two also coincident. Great. Now this isn't moving much. I believe this can still adjust. Yes. So next thing we're going to do is to create a center line from this point to this point, just like so. And then we're going to dimension that to be 16 long. That is looking good. Now for this last one, what we're going to do is radius out 90 or 9, just like that. And that should be enough detail to give that shape. Next thing we're going to do is to exit the sketch, and we're going to do a mid-plane extrusion of the sketch. So select the sketch, extrude. We're going to do mid-plane 32 millimeters. There we go. It should perfectly align here. Next thing we're going to do is to join these two faces together. So we're going to select this right here, make sure this, not the plane itself, and we're going to go into sketch. And we're going to make a center line first through here to here, and then what we're going to do is we're going to create actual lines. So make a line that goes from here to here, and then we're going to select this face or that edge, make sure it touches that edge, and then reconnect it down here. Next, what we're going to do is mirror these entities, so select that one besides this one, and then mirror it about that center line that we just created, just like so. Great, now we're going to take trim entities and delete that line right there. Next, we're going to smart dimension this to be 2.3. There we go. We're going to take this to this point, and we're going to make this 0.5. That is enough to fully define this geometry. We can exit the sketch and extrude it forward. So choose blind, reverse the direction, and check that. There we go. We got this geometry right here, looking good. Next, all we have to do is just fillet this so it doesn't have sharp edges. So first thing we're going to do is take these edges here and here. And we're going to press fillet. And we're going to make these 2 millimeters. And there we go. Then we're going to take these top faces, or these top edges, and we're going to fillet them as well by 0.5. Next, we're going to select the bottom of this face and sketch on it. These are going to be the pins that allow it to sit on the thing. So we just take this, make a center line downwards, just like that. And then we're going to create 2 circles. Make sure they sit on the center line, just like so. And then this one right here is going to have a diameter of 9.8. 9.8. And then same for this one. Actually, we will delete this circle entirely. We don't need it. And instead what we're going to do is we're going to mirror it. So take the center of this, put it right there, and select that to be 8.5. That should be enough to fully define this. Next, all we're going to do is mirror this entity. Select that, and then we're going to mirror it about this line, just like so. And then all we have to do now is exit the sketch and extrude this detail by 4 millimeters. As you can see, we have the full syringe clip right there. All we have to do is set the material to PETG. And there you go. That is the syringe clip right there. And that should be the last part you need to fully build this design. Thank you so much for watching.
Hello, my name is Elvis Trexler, and today we'll be assembling the guided needle. But firstly, before we do that, we have to ensure that we are in MMGS. So let's X out here, change this to MMGS. Now we're good to go. So let's insert our first part, which is the base plate, and that is going to be fixed. So we'll press check on that. Then we'll input the next part, which is the rotator track. So we'll reorient it to the correct position. There you go. And the first mate that we'll be using is a concentric mate between the pin and the pinhole. So we do that. It'll automatically know that. So we press check. Then we do another concentric mate. Then we do a coincident mate between the bottom of the pin and the bottom of the pinhole. And this should lock the entire structure to the base plate. And as you can see, there's no movement. So we're good on that. Now the next part that we'll have to input is the sliding rotator plate. Here we go. Now to input that, we'll also first put the other components onto the sliding rotator plate, which includes a slider attachment, which to attach these two, we'll use two width mates. So we have to go on mate here under advanced, specify that's width. So our first width is that between the inside of the slider attachment and the top and bottom of the sliding rotator. That looks good. And then the next one is another width mate, so we have to specify that again. So that's going to be the inside. Okay, let's move it out of the way so it's easier to do this. Go under main again. Specify width. The inside of the slider attachment to the inside of the slide rotator. That looks good, and it's staying in place except for the fact that it goes beyond the part, so we have to attach a limit mate from the front face of this attachment to the slide rotator plate. Now we have to specify this under advanced as well. So we choose an arbitrary distance of 180 millimeters. You'll see why in a second, but we'll make sure that this is further specified under maximum and minimum of 0 millimeters because here we go. So now that we can move our parts, there you go. Okay. Oh, that's why. So it stops at a certain point here, but then doesn't go beyond the part. The reason why I was moving weirdly was because it's not like fixed, so it might move it a little bit, but it's going to be fixed once we attach this to the rotator track. So we'll do a oh yeah, but before we do that, we'll have to input the clip onto it. The syringe clip. There you go. So we'll do a concentric mate first. And then the next mate that we'll have to use is a little more special. We'll have to use a tangent mate between the circle and this rectangle on the inside. So it automatically knows that. And then lastly, we'll need a coincident mate. Okay, now we're ready to attach this to the rotator. So what we do is a concentric on the inside of here to the inside of the rotator track, and it knows that, and it is not oriented in the correct position, but we can fix this by changing it. There you go, that looks good. So now the next thing for us to do is for it to actually be on the inside. So we'll do the bottom of the slide rotator track to the inside of the rotator plate. And coincident mate that. So now that's on the inside. And it moves beautifully except for the fact that it goes beyond the part again. So we'll see that when we do this. Right, so now we have to limit its angle. So in order to do that, we use a limit angle mate between those two faces. Let it load. And that'll be under the advanced portion. And the specific degree that we'll be inputting is 82.5, and the reason why we do that is because we're taking account for the amount of degree that the sliding rotator track is covering, which is around 15, and this distance as well. And we also have a minimum distance degree of 0. So when we do that, input that into it. So when we try it out, it stops right there, but I'm able to, if I get out this mate, if I come out here, it also stops here, and yeah, that is the end of the assembly. Thank you very much.
It's okay.